Hello everybody. Welcome to another webinar from 1&1 Internet, New Opportunities with New Top-Level Domains. I'm Daniel Young. I'm a content manager here at 1&1, and presenting with me today is Christine Skippington, Social Media Manager.
Hello everyone. Thanks for taking the time to join us today. We're going to cover a lot of information within the next hour, maybe a little less. We'll try to keep it short. We encourage you to ask questions at any time. Please type them into the questions pane on your screen and we'll answer them at the end of the presentation in a quick Q&A session. Also, if you missed something or would like to reference this webinar later, the recording will be available on our YouTube channel and the PowerPoint can be viewed or downloaded from SlideShare. And we'll be sure to include the links to everything in the follow-up email so it's easy for you to find.
Okay, so today we'll be going over a number of things, a number of facts about the new generic top-level domains. We're going to talk about what they are, first of all, for those that may not know, and then we're going to go into why you would consider registering a new TLD and how they can benefit your business. We've seen a lot of customers already adopting these new domain names for their businesses, so we'll show you just a few examples of those so you can maybe get an idea of how they can be successful for you. After that, we'll explain and walk through the process of how you can secure and actually register one of these new top-level domains, and we will talk about the timelines for when these will become available. Some of them already are, actually. So before we get started, we actually have a poll question for everybody. So let me send that out to you right now. You should see it appear on your screen in a few seconds. So this is just to get an idea where everyone's experience is at, so we can maybe tailor our presentation to your answers. So right now we'd like to get to know your experience with new top-level domains. So these answers kind of range from yes, I keep up with every new domain launch, all the way down less and less experience to what is the internet. So hopefully you fall into one of those four categories, and hopefully not the last one because you registered for this webinar, so that is showing us that you know how to use the internet, which is great. So we'll give a few more seconds to answer. It looks like 2/3 of you have answered, so just give a few more seconds for anyone else to catch up. Okay, that looks about good. So we will close this and share the results. And it looks like, actually, I wasn't expecting so many to be keeping up with every new domain launch. That's excellent. It looks like more than half of you have heard about them but aren't sure much about them, which is great. This is a great place for you to be to learn more. And for those of you that this is the first time you're hearing about it, we will hope to kind of educate you on that process. So that's great. Thank you for responding. So we will quickly go back to the presentation. You should see that come up any second now. Great. So let's start off explaining exactly what we're talking about. For the few of you that don't know or need a better idea for what a new TLD is, a domain name refers to the URL of a specific website. So if we use 1&1 Internet, for example, 1&1.com is the domain name for our website. The top-level domain is just the .com part of that URL. So even before the launch of the new TLDs like .photography, .web, there were several that you probably already recognized. So .com, .net, .org, .gov, those were the most popular. So until recently, these have kind of always been the standard, with some new TLDs coming out along the way, like .co or .info, which you may have heard of in the past few years. But now over 700 new top-level domains will soon become available. And several of them already are, which we will get into later. We'll show you which ones are already out and which ones should be coming out very soon. So just to add a side note, if you are reading any of the articles or social media posts that we publish here at 1&1, sometimes you'll hear us refer to them as generic top-level domains. This is simply just to differentiate with other types of domain extensions, like regional or country-coded, for example. So to use an example, a Canadian website usually ends in .ca for Canada, and German websites will typically end in .de. There's country codes for many other countries. These are referred to as ccTLDs for country code, and a generic TLD or a gTLD refers to something like .web, .shop, .photography, something like that. So there's many new regional TLDs also coming out with these new names, such as .nyc or .vegas, but for the most part, we talk about generic top-level domains, so that is why we use that term, just to clear that up for everybody that might be wondering.
Now, we all know that the new gTLDs are changing the internet landscape and bringing about vast opportunities for businesses, groups, and individuals. Of course, you've all heard something like that since you're attending this webinar, as you said in the poll. And I'm here to discuss what they can do for you. One of the biggest opportunities you can take advantage of with new gTLD is increased options. Many new website owners run into the issue of the crowded .com namespace, and that's since .com has been around forever, or at least a pretty long time. It can be difficult to find a short, memorable domain name that's not already in use. For example, if you have a business tied to your name and you have a common name, it can be difficult to find the right domain name to match that. And we'll show a specific customer example in a few minutes. And you also have the opportunity to tailor your TLD to your business, or your group, or your hobby for that matter. I mean, really any purpose. You can manage, say, for example, let's say you manage a plumbing business. You can actually register your business name at a .plumbing address instead of a .com. And that way, instead of, for example, myplumbingbusiness.com, you could use mybusiness.plumbing. And this will help you not only maintain a simple domain name, but one that is relevant for your customers and website visitors. Everyone who sees your URL will know what to expect from your site before they even get there. Further benefits of registering a new gTLD include increasing awareness. If your previous domain name could not make it clear what your business was, a new name might be able to. Then you can also protect your business and build upon your online brand. By registering the appropriate new domains for your business, you can rest assured that nobody else can buy those domains. You're the only one. And in many cases, this can help prevent phishing, brand confusion, and even make it easier for customers to find your website. These domains are also very easy to incorporate into your existing presence. And you don't need to build a brand new website because you can simply connect any of them to your existing site. And that brings up even more opportunities because having multiple relevant domains for your website is a great way to expand its reach and differentiate yourself from your competitors.
Great. Like we said before, we'll talk about some of our customers that have already adopted these new gTLDs. So in this example you should see on your screen now, we will talk about Jesse Bueller. Jesse runs his own lifestyle cycling blog, it's a tongue twister, called Pedal Culture. But he is also aspiring to be a designer and builder of custom bike frames. .bike was actually one of the first new gTLDs to be launched, so Jesse registered culture.bike to be the home of his new cycling blog, well, the new location of his existing cycling blog, as well as a location where he can hopefully one day sell the bike frames that he designs and builds. In his quote on the right, you can actually see that he registered the new .bike domain because he wanted to combine his education in design with his passion for cycling. So combining both those interests was a big motivation for registering culture.bike, and now people with similar interests will be able to recognize the domain and know exactly what his site is about. So other passionate cyclists will actually be able to see culture.bike if they were not aware of Jesse's website to begin with. So now hopefully he can increase his viewership and traffic and then one day make a nice business selling custom bike frames. In this next example, we look at David Stewart. David is a photographer based around the New York City area. He registered a name under one of the new .photography TLDs. We actually have .photos and .photography that came out around the same time, which is great for photographers. He chose David Stewart .photography as his new domain. His reasoning was actually what we explained earlier in the webinar, which is simply that the .com namespace was becoming too crowded. Since his business was tied to his name and his name was fairly common, it was difficult for him to find a relevant and simple name for his business. So I think his current domain was something like david-stewart.net, which for one didn't really convey what his business was about, and when trying to give his website to people by word of mouth, the hyphen made it difficult for people to remember and then find his site later. The davidstewart.photography actually helps him create a memorable domain name. He says in his quote to the right there, you can see that the new domain also expresses who he is and what his business is about, which is critical for gaining and maintaining customers. So when you go to his website, you know exactly who David Stewart is.
One of my favorite examples, and why I wanted to show it to you today, is how James Lucas is using the .clothing domain for his business. Now, James owns a retail company called GrapeCat that sells vegan clothing. He recently started this business last year with the website grapecat.com, and now he also uses veganonline.clothing to help customers find his site. The new domain, although it doesn't display his company name, allows visitors to know exactly what they will find at the site before they even click the link, and of course that's another great advantage. James also still uses his original site of grapecat.com for customers that are familiar with his brand and website. And he chose this new domain to gain visibility, to stand out from his competitors, and to further ensure that it's easy for customers and potential customers to find the business. And I think he's done a really great job of combining his old brand with his new TLD. You can see from our examples today that we showed 3 very different businesses that are all successfully using new TLDs. So this isn't something that's just for big businesses, even though you will see a lot of big brands coming out with new TLDs in the next couple of years. But I like to call these, even though they're smaller businesses, I call them their tech pioneers, because we really already recognize and implemented the latest internet advancements into their business. And you can see that there's really no limit to who can find opportunities through these new domains.
Absolutely.
And this brings us up to our next poll, is now that we've explained a little bit about it, a little bit more about them, is how would you think about using a new gTLD? And these are the 4 main categories here to highlight location, illustrate a subject, or show a business sector, maybe to show a website type.
Yeah, so we'll just give a few seconds here for everybody to answer. Should see it on your screen. It's a lot to read maybe, but basically we tried to nail down every category of new TLD into these 4. So if you can envision yourself getting one of these new TLDs, would you do it for a location? Maybe you have a business in New York, so you would get the NYC, or would it be something subject-oriented or business-oriented? And again, I'll take this little pause here while you answer the poll to reiterate that if you have any questions, please type them into your questions pane. We will have a Q&A session at the end, and then we will hope to get to everyone's question after that. And if you think of a question later, you can always contact us on our social media channels to reach out, and we will try to get back to you as soon as we can. We have a lot of people that responded, so we will share the results. In 1 second, you should see that show up on your screen. And it looks like most of you are looking to get a new gTLD to cover a business sector. So we will go into, in our walkthrough of the domain portal, we will go into exactly how you can find domains in a specific category. And then the other is a pretty even split between subject and website type, which is great. And surprising, nobody wants a location-based TLD. But maybe in our walkthrough, we'll talk about why maybe you would want to consider that in addition to another subject area. Okay, so this slide is pretty much what we just talked about. So your answers in that last question are pretty much the first steps to deciding how you can secure your new domain name. First, you want to determine what you want your gTLD to represent in the first place. So location-based, industry-based, like we just mentioned. And actually, you could register something in different categories for the same business. So like we said, no one selected the location as an answer, but I mean, you can only select one answer, so that's understandable. But for example, if you're a plumber in New York City, you might want to register your company name at .plumbing, but also at .nyc. Because in fact, registering multiple TLDs, regardless of what they are, is a great way to improve upon and protect your online brand. It's actually something that we've recommended even before these new TLDs came out.
And that's something that would be really helpful for businesses who also have an offline location.
Right, exactly. And so the next step is to understand the registration process. So to show that, we're going to share our screen and take a quick look at the one-on-one domain portal. There are a few ways you can access our domain portal, but we'll just go through the one-on-one homepage since that's probably the most likely way that you would access it. So we already have it up here, but basically you would go to oneand1.com, and then once you get there, you'll see that we have a section at the top for domains. And when you hover over that, it will bring up a larger menu, and we want to click here for new domains. I'll give a second because I know there's a bit of a lag in the screen sharing. Just don't want to go too fast. Okay, so once you get here, you can do a few things. You can watch a quick video. There's a video here, just kind of quickly explain. We won't watch it now. And then there's also some things up here that might be helpful. So we have a news portal which actually goes into news and information about new gTLDs as they come out. So you can see last week we launched .cab, .limo, and .domains. And you can scroll down here and just find all sorts of news based on new gTLDs.
And it might be more than just whatever domains are coming out or launching this week. It could also have new advancements about what's happening in the world of new TLDs.
Exactly.
And maybe some more other important information.
Exactly. So we have pre-registration news in addition to registration news, and then we also highlight, here's a news story about the very first new gTLD that was registered worldwide by one-on-one, so we have a nice little story about that. Some news about ICANN, so you can read a whole lot of stuff about what's going on in the world of gTLDs. We also have a frequently asked questions section. So if we don't do a good job here in our webinar and you actually have questions at the end, feel free to come here and get answers to your questions. So you can scroll down and quickly read them. It's our most frequently asked questions regarding the new top-level domains. When you see a question, you click on it and it expands to a larger answer. So that's some of the things you can do with the portal in addition to registering. So we'll go back to our overview page, and now I'm going to show you a few different ways that you can find a domain name. So one of the ways is if you don't know which domain name that you want, you can go down here and we actually have them broken out by category. So this first category here is top 30, and this top 30 is based on how many pre-reservations we've gotten for these names from all of our customers. And we'll get into what pre-reservation means versus pre-registration and registration in a moment. But you can see our little counter to the right that is over 4 million pre-reservations so far on all gTLDs on our website.
There are a lot of businesses that are interested in these new domains, and they're really ready to get started with the new internet.
Absolutely. So you can see any category you want. Say you wanted something for business. I know that was the popular answer on the poll question. So you would click here on Show All, and it will expand to a much larger list of every single NTLD that could be possible for your business. And there's many categories. There is travel and regional, web and technology, food and drink. This is where you would go if you aren't sure which gTLD you would like and hopefully get a better idea. We're going to show a quick example. Let's go into web and technology and select 3. So we'll select .web, .email, and .domains. Once you have the domains that you're interested in, you could do as many or as little as you like. It could be 1, it could be 100. You go up here to the search bar, and I already have an example typed in for webinar domain 123. And to the right, you see that it has a custom list with the 3 that we selected. And we'll go into this a little bit more when I show other ways to find a domain. So just run a quick check. And now you can see 3 different things. And there's a reason I picked these 3, because I wanted to show an example of 3 stages that each new gTLD can come in.
And they're coming in these different stages because the new TLDs are rolling out over the next few years. So they're kind of restricted. There's a couple coming out each month, and you'll see them developing as they progress, as new options are available.
Absolutely. So let's start here with webinar domain 123.web. It says pre-reserved with no obligation. This means that the domain is not actually available yet, and it is not available for pre-registration either. So pre-reservation means that we could sign up for this right now, input our email address and other contact information, and then we will be notified once it actually is available for pre-registration. So there's no obligation for buying at this point. We're just signing up for information, and then in the future you would be notified. And then the next stage is .email. .email can be ordered right now. It's in the pre-registration phase for $14.99 per year for the first year. Pre-registrations mean that this domain is available in the sense that nobody else has pre-registered it. So if we would select this name now, no other one-on-one customer can actually choose that name. So when .email actually launches, we would be the first one-on-one customer to get that domain. And then the final stage, which is the exciting stage, is where .domains is right now. .domains can be registered today immediately for $19.99 per year. The price is right there. That is the promo price currently. And this is the last stage of the domain process. You could go on this website today and get a .domains name, and then won't have to wait for the actual launch. So there's many of these that are already out. We'll go over that in a few minutes, but I just wanted to show you the 3 examples. And if you can't remember or get confused about any step of this process, on the right margin you can see we have steps that kind of explain what I just explained. So we have the pre-reservation step, the pre-registration step, and then the steps that happen thereafter. So like I said, I'd like to show you a couple different ways that you can find your new gTLD. That was if you were just browsing the checklist. You can see in the drop-down here where it says Custom List, where we have our 3 selected. Let's say you're not sure which domain you like, but you know what category you would like. So like we said earlier, many people want a .business or a .whatever in a business category. So you can go up here to the drop down, and there actually is broken down by category. So we would click business specification right here. We'll just keep our test domain at webinar domain 123. You could type anything you want there, and we can just check for every domain in the business category. And this will bring up a lot.
Yeah, there are a lot in that category.
This is a very popular category, not just with our poll participants today. So as you can see, a lot of them are pre-reservation. We should just reiterate that these new TLDs have only started to launch as recently as February, so that's why there's so many for pre-reservation. There's more coming out every week. .company is for pre-registration right now, and then we have 2 in the business category that are you can register right now, so .ventures and .holdings. And then we will show you just one more way to register, just so there's no confusion. You can pretty much select anything here, it doesn't matter. But let's say we already know a domain that we're interested in. So when you saw our customer example with culture.bike, let's say that you own a bike shop and you want to register a bike domain today because you know it's available. So instead of searching through here to find where bike is, you can actually type it up here in our example. So webinar domain 123, you can just add a .bike to the end of that, and we can check if that's available. And it should be, because I don't know who would register this domain besides me. It actually is available, so we typed that in, and it's available, and we could purchase it right now for $19.99 per year for the first year at this promotional price.
And that's good, too. We do have a lot of promotional pricing on all the new domains.
Yep, and as they all come out, there's new prices. So the prices kind of vary. We'll go into that a little bit. Let's go back to our presentation very quickly. Okay, so hopefully that kind of helps everyone understand a little bit more about how you can go about finding your new gTLD. So now we want to show you just which ones are already out. We've been talking about them the whole presentation, so you're probably wondering which ones you can get today. So every domain you see here on this list can be registered right now. So you see our customer examples in here, like .clothing and .photography, but several others we haven't mentioned as well, .menu, .tips. Like I said, this list grows every week. We're always adding more gTLDs as they become available. And then this next slide, and before I go to the next slide, in case you're trying to write this down frantically, I'll reiterate that we will be sharing the PowerPoint and the recording of the webinar later on, so you don't have to worry about missing any information right now. So the next slide is the current release schedule for just the next month. There's many more coming out after this. This is just what's on our radar for the next month. So we saw .email in our pre-registration example earlier. Here you can see that it actually comes out on March 26th, which is actually next Wednesday. We actually also have several being launched tomorrow, like .academy, .computer, and more. Like I said, more and more are added every week. So even if you don't see one that pertains to your business or website right now, you can keep checking back on our domain portal, and it might soon become available.
Okay, that brings us to the end of our presentation today. We're going to answer your questions in just a moment. I'd like to thank everyone for attending. I know you're all going to do great things with your new domains, and we really wish you achieve all the most success possible. We'd love to hear what you decide to do with your new domains, so drop us a note on Facebook or Twitter and let us know about it. Some of the links for that are up there on your screen. And once again, you can see this presentation again on YouTube or SlideShare, and we'll have them posted as soon as possible. So, Dan, let's see what questions we have today. Do you want to?
Sure. Let's start with, we see a question here for what is the most popular gTLD so far? That's a good question. So we'll quick show, in terms of popularity in general, we have a top 5 list here under our ticker. So we have the total 4.3 million pre-reservations total, and then the top 5 under that. So .web is the clear winner here with over 180,000 people interested. And then .online, .shop, .blog. So kind of short website category domains seem to be the most popular. In terms of registrations, it's hard to tell since there's only a small selection available right now. But perhaps in the future we'll be able to have some more information about which one is actually popular in terms of registrations. It'll probably be similar to this once they're all available, but obviously we don't know that at this time. So let's look at another question. Will people tend to keep their .com or .net URL and then add these gTLDs?
Yeah, I think the answer to that is absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Similar to how grapecat.com, one of our examples, is keeping their .com address and also added a new TLD. Having these multiple domains is only advancing their chances of visibility.
Exactly. So we, like Christine just mentioned, we have a lot of our customers that we know of kind of using these to point to their existing website, especially since it's so easy just to direct the new domain name to the existing website instead of building a new website. So some of them are keeping them kind of as a dual location, and then some of our customers, such as David Stewart, he didn't really have an opportunity to have a great, short, and memorable domain name in the .com space, so the .photography space is helping him in a better way, but I believe he is still planning to keep the original URL just because of everything else, the history that he's been using it. So
I think for a lot of businesses, if you've really well branded your website and your business with your website, it makes sense just to add to your portfolio.
Exactly. And then we have another question here. How many gTLDs are planned to be released and over how much time? So like I showed you in our presentation, this is just the release date for the next month. This is probably pretty indicative of the schedule for every month. There's more coming out every week in different batches. So tomorrow I believe we have 6 or 7 coming out. It's 7. .menu just came out on Monday, so we actually have a lot coming out every week. There will be over 700 by the end of this. It appears that it would be, it might take a year or two before we get through all of them, but they're coming out on a weekly basis at this point, so it's very exciting when you're looking for a new domain name. So maybe there's some coffee shops that are going to be interested in .coffee on April 9th when that comes out. Some educational facilities on April 2nd will be excited to get the .education domain. So it's just a matter of keeping up with it because they can't all come out at once. But over the next year or two, we should start to see hundreds and hundreds more. So just kind of a schedule over the next couple of years. That's kind of what we're going with. How will I be notified if I receive a domain that I pre-registered? That is a great question. Once you pre-reserve a domain, you put in your information, and once you pre-register a domain, you also put in your information, assuming you hadn't already done that for the pre-reservation process. So when you pre-register the domain, you have your email address and all of your contact information in there, and you will receive an email on the day of the launch to let you know that your domain was successfully registered. The only reason it would not be successfully registered is based on the registry's process on the day of the launch, and then also if there was a trademark issue. So you can't expect to have a major brand name .company and expect to get it because ICANN will probably shoot that down before it gets even close. And you will be notified by email if that was unsuccessful, but you will also be notified if it was successful.
Yeah, we have another question about why are these new TLDs coming out. And again, it's to give more options and we've noticed that the internet is growing, and this is to accommodate that expansion. So it allows people to find more suitable and more available domain names that better match their website.
Great. And here's another question. What are the costs for the new gTLDs? We did see some examples when I was doing the walkthrough. The example that's already on the screen, you can see $19.99 for the first year. At this point, for the domains that are out now, I believe the ranges in the promotional price goes for anywhere from $14.99 to $39.99, and then any that come out from this point forward, it's kind of decided as they are released. The schedule is based on ICANN, which we can go into what ICANN is, because I think I see another question about that. But for right now, to answer the question, it ranges from $14.99 to $39.99 for the first year of registration under the promo price, but that can be lower or higher based on the name as they come out. So I think we have a question for what is ICANN? ICANN it's an acronym, stands for the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers. It's a California-based nonprofit, and they're basically responsible for a range of policies and technical work related to the Internet. So they're pretty much the ones behind the new gTLDs coming out. There was a long application process for registries to create these new gTLDs and get approved, and they're kind of responsible for the release schedule as well. So
yeah, they're a regulating agency. They're just making sure that everybody is operating correctly.
mm-hmm.
Are there analytics available to know where customers find you, whether it's the original website or the new one? That's an excellent question. And if you set up website analytics on your site, you'll be able to see which one, where people are coming in from.
Right, and that's actually a great reason. I think one of our testimonials that we shared earlier is actually doing that, having both domains, the old name and the new name, up at once, and kind of live for a few months. He'll be able to see which one is actually more successful and driving more traffic. Obviously, in the beginning, the original name will drive the most traffic because that's the one that's been linked everywhere and that's the one that's been shared the most. But in a few months, while sharing the new domain name, it'll be interesting to see in the analytics how much it improves. So that's a great question. And I think that will pretty much wrap it up there. Like we said, if you have any other questions, just send us a message on social media, and we will actually share the recording of the webinar in a few days. It should be on our YouTube channel at the latest, so you can reference it at any time. The presentation will be available on our SlideShare, which you can reference at any time as well. In terms of finding those channels, we will send an email to everyone that registered, not just the attendees, but everyone that registered for today's webinar with the links to find those. So I hope you learned something about new gTLDs that you did not know before, and I will thank Christine for presenting with me today.
Thank you so much for having me on, Dan.
And I would like to thank everyone for attending.